Peace family, you boy gravel voice over here. FONZi Neutral representing for that car. I tell you when you're going live, man, these things happen, but what you saying, Floss?
Oh man, shit. We gonna handle it. You gotta handle it. You gotta do what you gotta do.
So definitely been interesting week to say the least. 2023 been kicked off. Quite a few different topics going on amidst the hip hop industry and the wider industry, entertainment industry and stuff. We definitely want to say rest in peace to Gangsta who reportedly lost their life at the start of the year. We're gonna get into some topic discussion around that and stuff also within this show. But how's things been for you out there? 2023 start, Fluff?
Oh man, it's been good. Just got back from Vegas yesterday, and there's been a lot of things going on towards the new year. I heard about Gangsta Boo, rest in peace, Queen. She was definitely an icon out there in Tennessee. You know what I mean, holding it down for the women out there. You know what I'm saying? I remember the first time I heard Gangsta Boo, and she was where them dollars at? Where them dollars at? You know what I'm saying? So, it was tragic to hear, especially at the beginning of the year on New Year's. I like New Year's Eve. So I probably figured that like everybody else, that she was partying and going hard, on New Year's Eve, and then, felt the effects of it and faced their demise on New Year's Day. So it's a sad thing, man. It's like we always do a bunch of podcast interviews, and it's always seeming about somebody dying. You know what I mean? But this is definitely a shocker. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest, it was a shock. And as you said, oftentimes, in the podcast game, in the reporting game, death is something that comes up, and it's like you do feel a certain type of way when it's like a constant that you constantly having to report on like somebody's passing and stuff like that, especially in short spaces and periods of time. We have our own personal even lives and tragedies and stuff that happen even within our families and stuff as well, and extended, and then so sometimes you're dealing with so much, and then it becomes one of those things. I'd say what was slightly different about this one, especially within the hip hop community, it being a female, where not to throw gender or anything out there like that, but we're used to seeing like a lot of males that have been passing, whether that be from being killed or some of them that have died of like drug or alleged, drug overdoses and stuff.
Right.
This being like a female, and as you said, even a young female, a lot of people remember where them dollars at. Very popular smash hit song and stuff. And she was quite young then. I think maybe about 19 or something. I don't know. She was still quite young. So
Yes. Yeah. Still young.
and talented, and definitely a pioneer for like a lot of the female artists that we see now coming with a certain type of energy and stuff and representation. She was definitely like a trailblazer for the time and the stuff that she represented. But I want to kind of get into, I guess, you know, how she died. We don't want to speculate too much. There has been multiple reports. Some say, as you said, it was New Year's Eve, that sort of thing. There was alleged some kind of drugs potentially involved. They say that somebody else who she was with, her brother, was taken to, I think, intensive care or something, and subsequently released. And then there was some incident where she was found. So we're kind of looking at drugs and the role that it plays, I guess, within the industry and stuff. There was a clip that we shared from a Vlad TV interview with her speaking about just like drug use and stuff, and how some people have, blamed 3 6 for not introducing like the usage of certain drugs, but maybe promoting it in a certain way in their music, and not just them. She even said in the interview that this has been done in like rock music, other forms of music, and stuff like that. So let's kind of get into that and start looking at, I guess, the whole aspect of drugs in the industry. We're looking at the darker side of the hip hop industry and stuff, and the role that drugs play.
Well, you got to look at it, man. Like nobody really pays attention to it, but look at all these artists that's on tour, 30 city tours, 40 city tours, stuff like that. They have to remember their dance steps and choreographs and all this type of stuff. How do you think that they staying up? You know what I'm saying? The body can only take so much. You know what I'm saying? So, drugs go hand in hand with the music industry. Period. No matter if it's rock or if it's rap or whatever. You know, it's a demise of a lot of things because back in the days, the drug dealers, they somewhat, even though it's a funny statement, it's an oxymoron. It's like they somewhat cared about their clients because they did put all kind of way out stuff in it. But nowadays they put all kind of rat poison and fentanyl, and just people just dropping left and right. You know, um, sometimes you do take these drugs and stuff like that to cope with the industry. You could be dope as an MC and really not be used to the limelight and a lot of the stuff that goes along with the industry. Being shy inward, but you dope lyrically and in the studio. But when you go out there, you have to face all of these people, and so it can be overwhelming. So sometimes people self medicate themselves.
Yeah, I mean, well, you say self medicate. I think that's one thing. So we've got, I guess, different tangents at it. There's the aspect of people self medicating. Like, I mean, it's no secret that I've been involved in the professional wrestling business and stuff. It's still a huge fan of the business, and amidst the wrestling business, we did see throughout the 90s and stuff. There was a lot of people addicted to like prescription drugs, pills, non-prescription drugs and stuff because as much as everybody saw these guys out on
Steroid.
TV, steroids and other thing was involved and stuff, but I was more looking at the drugs that people use when they're on the road and stuff like that, because that's what a lot of people was saying for their tough schedules. Certain things taking a toll on their body and their mind and stuff, and I'm not advocating the usage of certain things. I think nowadays things have kind of quelled a bit more because it seems people are more smoking weed and stuff now and taking different kinds of cannabis based products, CBD, gummies, all these different types of stuff. I guess for more of a downer, but then you've got the upside where people want that boost, as you said, where sometimes people want to be release themselves of certain inhibitions and stuff, or maybe if they're nervous and they're going out, and as you said, it might be they're having to deal with so many different people. I don't really look at that then as a self medication issue. I see that as a I don't want to say abusing the drug, but it's then using something as a like as a platform or as a boost to do something. It's like some people that drink alcohol because they think it gives them confidence. They call it Dutch courage in some aspect.
Right, right. Well, it does, it does. But I feel like you use drugs, you don't let them use you. If you use it for something, I know doctors and lawyers that's on major drugs to have them stay up. They cram it for tests, or it's all kind of stuff that people use drugs for. But when you abuse them, that's when it becomes a issue. You know, um, as far as like the Keith Murray thing, I used to see Keith Murray. He used to come to our studio, Soundcastle Studios out there in Long Island, in Freeport, and we would see him. He was just a live dude. Dude is live. You know what I mean? But at the same token, it's like motherfuckers be on drugs, man. Motherfuckers be high, and you'd be surprised who be on drugs. Like at the end of the day, it's something to kick off at a party. You gonna be It's gonna be boring without no ecstasy or some lean, or you know what I mean. But if you abuse it, you know what I mean. If you abuse it, shit. I mean,
Yeah, I
we
mean,
all we all know people that's on it. We all know people in this industry. I ain't gonna name no names, but we I know a bunch of people, and at one time, including myself, I was getting too loose and all of that. I was having problems, family problems, so I was dealing with it in a different way. You know what I mean? The escape of it. But at the end of the day, when that high comes down, the problem still remains.
nah, I mean, we're not here to be nobody's well, I'm certainly not no moral judge or compass in any aspect. I do believe we can kind of help each other through some experiences and stuff to ultimately learn, but everybody has their different crosses to bear, and some say people have their different vices. What might be, a vice to somebody might not be to somebody else. So I guess as you said, people have their different things that they struggle with, finding just balance and stuff like that. I guess a part of that just being the human condition. You mentioned Keith Murray, and I think it's important because, rest in peace, obviously, God bless the dead, Gangsta Boo. And we was discussing just the music that was being made from 3 6 Mafia and certain
Right.
people promoting. We don't, say they promoting drug use, but speaking on drug use because now it's being explored a bit more, even within this Keith Murray interview, what's come to light, which some people may not have been privy to, the fact that he is, allegedly been involved in a lot of drugs and stuff himself. Some are now looking back and saying, okay, PCP, maybe this drug, maybe that drug, and listening. And people are now even saying, Wu Tang and Takal and this and that and certain other things that other people have been rapping about in terms of drug use throughout their music. Do you think it was probably more coded with different artists and stuff like that, as well as opposed to some artists were more raw coming out with it and more vocal, like there ain't you can't make no you can't make any indiscretion about it. I think even Ja Rule got a track on one of his albums about ecstasy and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, man. Yeah, Rule and them, Ja Rule. We see Ja Rule in them in LA all the time off them pills. They was giving them the bitches. Like he'll tell you that himself. You know what I mean? Like the industry is full of that. But what I recognize is that the people who always come out with something, the lean and the sipping on syrup and all that type of shit. Most of these people is dead. The people who introduced it to the world is dead. The DJ Screws, the Big Mo's, and all these people who sit and fuck with that promethazine. You know, I mean, it's a chance that you take. Your heart can only take so much. You slowing your heart down. People are sniffing powder and taking lean. Your heart is doing the Watusi. You know what I'm saying? So it can only take so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, we had the opportunity, to definitely spend some time on the road with Keith Murray, doing some tour stuff out here in London, Leeds, and a few other places. And that's one thing what I noticed, especially with his interviews, because Keith still got that same attitude and energy. I spoke to Keith actually maybe about a year or so ago in regards to setting up like some interview stuff, and I recall him saying, I ain't gonna get into all the figures, but you give me X, Y, and Z, and I'll give you a juicy interview. And at the time he was kind of not like pushing for money, but he was like, let's get this deal done now. And at the time I was like, I'm not sort of ready to do that type of business. So it's kind of interesting me seeing this interview come about now with Art of Dialogue, but not only from what I've known and experienced of Keith, that his energy is pretty much still the same. Like, so where some people are speculating whether he was on, some kind of substance and stuff like that. Some have been asking whether he was like lying about some of the stuff, but I think it's been interesting just to see this one unfold. I remember, when we toured and Keith was in London and there was a venue and it had a particular, it's like a chandelier type ornament type deal thing hanging on the ceiling, and I guess it was shaped in some kind of like occult looking symbol, or it was like the Necromican symbol or something like that. And it was a bit of a rock band, like they probably use it for like rock events. And I remember Keith was just performing and he's doing his thing, but mid performance he just take the mic and he cut the music off, and he like, he's sick and tired of this thing hanging over his head and stuff, and he jump up in the air like and Keith a small dude, you know what I mean? But he jump up in the air and like he go hang, like he go to hang off this ornament thing on the ceiling, but instead of him just hanging from it, he pulled the whole thing out
Oh no.
and he fall on the floor. This thing fall on the floor with him, and he get back up. Everybody in the crowd, laughing and all that. I mean, I think the only person probably wasn't laughing was the bar, was the person who owned the bar. He was pissed off.
Right.
He had words with the promoter, and subsequently, the show had to be cut short. Now, there was some guys from London. I ain't gonna mention their name, but I know they. Well, I can't remember their names to be fair. I think I may mention one of them, but I ain't gonna put their business out there. But they had some kind of song they was doing with Keith at that time as well. They were supposed to shoot a video, and but the way that the night ended, they was kind of upset because they were supposed to shoot the video in the bar, but the guy at the bar was like, "Everybody get out." And Keith kind
Everybody.
of to like, "Yo, just grab the camera, and just shoot now, and just do it." Like he kind of just
All right. He just like just all over the place.
so when we see how the things have turned out, it's just kind of crazy. And as I said, just from my experience, just being around Keith, being on tour and stuff with him, it's not really surprising when we see, how he's acting now and stuff in the interviews and stuff like that. Man, it's just an example of Keith being Keith. So yeah, I just wanted to share that story, and we're definitely gonna get back into Heavy C
But
at the
but
same.
but, but one thing I will say about Mr. Murray, he can be on drugs, he can be high, they can say whatever they want to say about dude. One thing that he is dope. That nigga's on his pen and he's a spitter. He's always been a spitter. You know what I mean? Party rate, panty raider, party exciter. That nigga's dope. Big words and all that. They can hate on him and say all that if they want to, but he always been himself. He been alive in live New York niggas, you know what I mean? Turn it up or whatever. He can share his stories and say what he want to say. Let him say what he want to say. You know what I'm saying? He lived that. Let him breathe and say what he want to say. You never know what he may be taking from this motherfucker, and he expresses himself and getting it off. You know what I mean? So let him do his thing. You know what I mean? I ain't mad at him. Big up to Keith Murray.
Yeah, no, that's a fact, man. Like we said, big up to Keith. We definitely, want to get him on the platform at some point. The most beautifulest thing we see him representing, putting it down. And we did actually speak about some tour stuff at some point. He told me he had recently embraced Islam, maybe over the past few years and stuff. So we was talking about him going out to Dubai to do some stuff because he said he really wanted to get out to Dubai and do some stuff. And he was like, "I want you to manage my business, stuff out there for me, X Y Z." But shout out to Keith, man. Keith, cool, good to see him doing his thing. As you said,
All
if
right.
there are any issues, we hope that they're being taken care of and stuff like that, or you got good people around them. But touching back on that, I guess we went a bit lighthearted somewhat there, but the dark side of the hip hop industry is obviously the title and obviously the focus of this. So one of the dark sides we've kind of seen is the drug use, and I mean, can you think? Because we don't seem like we're just highlighting God bless the dead, Gangsta Boo, and obviously Keith Murray because he's in the media at the minute. I'm sure there's a bunch of other rappers and other artists we could think of that have spoke on different elements of drug use. I think of like jail felony and stuff. He speak about Sherm a lot. I mean, any other guys you could think of?
The biggest I remember one time I was with my manager and we was in New York. And when we was in New York, um, my homeboy Ira, my manager was Gabe and Gabriel. And so his homeboy was Ira, big white boy, big tall white boy. He used to produce for the boy bands, the white boy bands and shit like that. And so I could just recall, man, just like, you know, him telling us stories about all kind of industry shit, and we would go to these parties and see all these type of things. Motherfuckers sniffing lines off each other ass, and one thing's for certain: when you first enter the music industry, it's people that prey upon new artists. You know what I'm saying? The cocaine man is gonna come out from out of nowhere. The ecstasy man, but you got to stay on top of your craft. That's what got you there. You know what I mean? So you got to stay on top of your craft. But that's one thing's for certain is that drugs is definitely rampant in the music industry and all kind of industries, and people is dying from these pills and the oxys and roxys and Loratabs and all this type of shit. When marijuana's not taking nobody out, these pills is taking everybody out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I said, it's kind of interesting. Why I mentioned even like the wrestling business, where people who follow the wrestling business, there was a lot of wrestlers, that people see from like that died. And most of it, people attributed to like the usage of pills and other drugs and stuff they were taking at the time. Nowadays, a lot of the modern guys appear to be smoking a lot more weed and stuff, and you haven't seen as much, I guess, drug related deaths. So I think there's an interesting, correlation in there at play, just as you said, with the cannabis not necessarily being associated with you know, people losing their lives in that kind of way and manner and stuff, whereas some of these other drugs and just a different form and variety, I guess, that they come in. Now, we've seen, you know, definitely, I want to say shouts out to Jaguar, right? She definitely was putting out some dope and intriguing content. Now she's been on another media run recently and stuff, and it just made me think of what you were just saying about the industry and certain things that happen that people don't necessarily see. And now we're seeing a lot more things being brought to light from, like, some may call them whistleblowers, some may call them people just speaking their truth and stuff, and sharing it with the world. We've seen even with the Keith Murray interview and stuff, people saying, is he sharing his truth and stuff like that. He spoke quite candidly about sexcapades and stuff like that and stuff. Jaguar Wright, she spoke about certain sexcapades with certain people and stuff like that. So when we're looking at one of the darker sides of the hip hop industry, we know that there's a huge correlation with, I guess, the adult industry or the sexualization and stuff of things and stuff like that as well. And nowadays we see different kind of correlations with even like homosexuality and stuff like that being brought in, and different agendas and stuff at play. So it's such a mixed bag of things when we're looking at that side of things in the industry. Like, what's interesting to me is I remember these guys with a B2K, and you had this guy Raz B, and he kind of came out a few years ago, excuse the pun, on, I believe, WorldStar or a few platforms, and he made a lot of statements about the industry, and he mentioned a lot of different people. And fast forward, many years later now, what was such like a surprise then is like seems to be like commonplace now with these kind of stories coming out, or other people mentioning different people that sort of corroborate what people may have said or inferred to begin with. So when we look at that kind of side of the industry, I mean, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the sordid sexcapades, and that side of things? Some people say it's about power and control more than it is about pleasures and stuff. But I mean, what say you?
Man, first of all, you're not gonna get in this industry unless you encounter that. I got a story. I
You got to give
definitely
us.
got a
So
story.
you say they got to give us some cheeks to get in the industry or something.
Oh yeah, man. It's not about how much talent you got. It's what you're willing to do. And so the story I'm about to tell, I could recall me and my homie in my group. We in Himalayas. We go to New York, and this one person, I'm not gonna say their name. I'm not gonna say their name and blast them out. But it's a known person that everybody knows. And we in New York. We in a hotel. So we looking out the window and shit. Me and my partner, we looking out the window at Times Square, looking at all the cabs and all that. We at the Hilton. And this is around the time when the All Star came to New York, and Kobe had the fro. So I'm looking out the window, me and my nigga looking out the window, and I happen to turn around talking to the other artist. This nigga laying on the bed. So how he did it was to where my homie is looking out, me and him was the only one that can. I'm the only one that can see him at this time. So when I turn around, he sex play me and give me a sexual look. You know what I'm saying? I turn around hella fast, like, so my partner like, what's wrong? What's up, Floss? What's up? I was like, I'll tell you later. So later on came, so he asked me what happened. I told him, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude gave me a sweet look. I don't know what he was thinking. He barking up the wrong tree, right? So I look and I'm like, damn, like, don't you got shows with girls competing for your love and all that? You know what I'm saying? I was gonna expose it a long time ago, but I wasn't gonna expose. I was just like, fuck it, man, whatever. But at the same time, I look like, what was you thinking? You know what I mean? And this is a person that, when I say everybody knows who he is, everybody knows who he is. If you black and you in entertainment and you've been dealing with entertainment and following entertainment for years, you know exactly who this person is. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna put him out there, but all I will say is he has a famous sister that sings. You know what I mean? And so, whatever's done in the dark is gonna come to the light. But I ain't with that. I ain't dissing nobody's lifestyle or whatever they on, but I ain't with that. You know what I mean? So And drugs play a lot of hands in these things. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of things that's going on in this industry that people is not talking about the real shit. Jaguar Wright is talking about it. You know what I mean? And she putting it out there. And there's a lot of stories and shit that I know, but I'm gonna keep quiet. But this one person, you know, if you gay, if you homosexual, whatever your preference is, be that. Don't hide it. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to hide it nowadays because they didn't kick the door off the hinges when it come to it. But everybody ain't with that. You know what I mean? And so when it's forced upon you, as far as like your music and how you gonna get your music out, and they dangle that over your head, that's what makes people commit suicide. And you wondering how they died and why they died. You know what I mean? But y'all do the math. Y'all do the homework and do the math. You know, it ain't too hard to figure it out. You know what I mean? Real shit.
Yeah, no, that's crazy, man. And you know, we do hear often, obviously, like you say, a lot of different stories and stuff about, I guess, how people act behind the scenes. You know, would you say it's, okay, from your experience, that sounds like, maybe somebody was just like gay, like I don't know, like a gay proposition or something.
Right. It was like a sex play type
But
of
yeah,
situation to
it,
where I'm looking out the window and I
but
turn around and go say something to him and the nigga give me I mean, I'm talking about sweeter than cotton candy.
but
Sweet.
because in some aspects we hear some people say that people be doing things at industry kind of like parties or events where like they've got something to try and gain like from a label. Do you think it's got to a point where people aren't necessarily doing it for, and I'm not advocating it in any aspect for like a power play? It's more of just their
It is.
it's
It
their
is. It
you think
is.
it's just their preference? Do
They
you think?
use it. They use it as a tool. But you know, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna keep it all the way funky and keep it all the way hunting with you. What is it to when you have all the cars and you got all the cribs and you got the money in the bank and you got all that going on and you still not happy and you just as miserable as you was before you got on. You feel what I'm saying? See, my thing is I could look in the mirror at myself. I could look at the mirror at myself and like what I see and be proud of what I see. You know what I mean? When you do stuff like that's out of your character for the price of success and money and fame, it don't add up. I'm telling you, it don't add up. You know what I mean? You should be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you see. You know what I mean? Not the fact that you did something for the price of money, for to get some money. You know what I mean? So be happy with your goddamn self. That's what all I gotta say is be happy with yourself. Whatever it is, whatever you represent, whatever you got going on, be happy with yourself. You know what I mean? If you live in a lie, if you live in a fake and a lie and you know, talking about people and downing people and all that, all this shit is gonna come out straight up.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, with that being said, would you recommend people to get into said industry? I know nowadays there's a lot of people that push that there's more viability and access in one aspect to be independent, even though, I guess some of the platforms make it difficult because they're so lopsided in how they probably take a bit more from the independence. However, I digress. I mean, would you encourage anybody to get in the industry? What's your thoughts on the industry now? I mean, having seen so many aspects of it yourself, and just, I guess, some of the darker sides which we've touched on so far.
Um, the advice that I would have is stick to who you are. Stick to who you are. It's going to be very, very important down the line. You know, these record companies and these record company people, they play a lot of games when it comes to this, and a lot of the time they pushing the agenda. You know, all I notice is that everybody that really speaks their mind on of this topic, they have to end up apologizing. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't have to apologize as long as you're not slandering anybody. But if that's not your preference, that's not your preference, and it should be okay. You know what I mean? To where if you play too hard, if you play too hard with your shit and push your shit too much, they not gonna put your record out. They gonna play with your mind. So the person I'm talking about that played this little episode with me, he's a seasoned person that's in this industry that grew up on the camera. So, I don't hate dude. I don't have no problem. But when I see him now, or I talk to him, I see him, I'll be like, hey, what up? Because I don't have no problem. That's you. He'd be like, hey, Floss. He'd be on some funny shit. And that's cool too. But I don't know what you was thinking on, boy. But you barking up the wrong tree. I know that.
No, I'm with you, man. I think when we look at the industry, there's definitely more than I guess people come to realize the things that have been at play. Especially behind the scenes when we're looking at things from a cult or hidden aspect. Now, I do think sometimes the younger that sometimes people have been involved, the more privy they may have been to see certain things like we hear about Drew Barrymore and some of the stuff she was accessible to when she was quite young and stuff. And I mentioned Grass B earlier. We had the B2K guys and the Corey Haynes and the
Yeah,
Corey
who you talking about? Who you talking about? Chris Stokes? Who is you talking about? Chris Stokes? The nigga from B2K? Oh man, he should be in jail, brother.
I'm
He
trying,
should be in jail.
trying
Man,
to be
please.
professional here, but
He should be in
studying
jail.
my broadcast voice, but
Well, I don't care. I said it. Floss Mo said it. You know what I mean? Chris Stokes need to be in jail because some of the shit he was doing. You know what I mean? I may be speaking, and they want to forget it, but I know some shit about that, and I'm just like, dude, that shit ain't right. I used to be in Atlanta, and then all of a sudden we'd be listening to Hot 97, and they would stop the music, and Raz Beat would come on the motherfucker and go hard, and then they another cat that he may be getting high. He may be getting high, but just because he's getting high, that doesn't mean that he's not speaking the truth. Was my boy, was dude, that's so Raven,
But,
was dude name?
here's the thing: well, that's why we do this podcast. But because that's where I was actually going at with that conversation. When I was talking about former child stars and just them being impacted the most. You have to pardon my slow pace because I,
I just got passionate about it because I
I
I
got the
seen some
I
shit.
got the clips there, and that's what we was gonna go into was former Disney child star Orlando Brown, who was recently arrested for domestic violence and stuff. We seen him in the mugshots and stuff. He said that it wasn't true. Um, he was arrested at one of his siblings' places. They said he was running around crazy with a hammer and a knife and stuff. We've seen him in the media. Speaking about so many different stuff, and somebody might look and say, "Oh, this young child star had it so good. He was in That So Raven. He got the Raven tattoo on his neck. Raven seems to have completely distanced herself from him. However, he's got to be a highlight example of, I guess, some of the, being having access to certain types of things, drugs and alcohol and just different experiences that whether people agree or believe that he's had. I think there's definitely some truth to some of these things, and it
Oh
ties
man, it's a bunch of it. It's a bunch of truth. It's a
just
bunch of truth.
this whole dark side of things that people aren't really privy to all the time. I do believe there's credence to it.
Yes, it is. At the same time, I'm gonna tell the truth. Orlando Brown look like he's getting high, but just like I said, it's because he's getting high. He may be coping with something that may be helping him cope. But Orlando Brown has a bunch of truth that's coming out. You know what I'm saying? It's because of the fact of, a lot of people that see me on this platform, they may not know me off top exactly, but guarantee you I know some people that the people that y'all know, they know me too. And I've been in this industry. It's not like I'm a new jack and I'm just talking about some shit. No, I've been in this industry for many, many years. And what I've seen is the signs that he's been talking about, he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. You know what I mean? They try to hide all this shit, but you know the truth is gonna come out regardless. You know what I mean? But the B2K, the big up to J Bug, that's my homeboy. I know his sister Nina and all of them. You know his father Hot Shot and all of them. I ain't never see. I don't judge people on what I hear. I only judge people on what I see. You know what I mean? So that's what your get down is. That's your get down. That's cool. Hey, whatever. But still, no, don't try to force it on people and hang stuff over people's head because you trying to have them be on the same shit. That's whack.
No, definitely. Lastly, I guess it's a good kind of wind down. People definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments if you're over on YouTube, and our audio listeners. Definitely continue to send us emails to backpatonline.com. Now, I was just gonna say, do you feel as though I guess things have gotten any better with media and platforms enabling people to, I guess, use their voice in a way that they probably wouldn't have had before? Or do you think it's made things worse? Like some people say people are trolling and are probably lying in some aspects now, putting out false stories. Whereas others are saying, no, that's not actually the fact. It's the fact that people can now have a bigger voice, use their voice and put stuff out there. So do you feel like it's a platform for more truth to come out? Or do you think the media has been
Of
like
course,
irresponsible in
of
some
course
way?
it is. Of course it is. And we haven't heard. See, if we'd have had this shit in the '90s and early 2000s, man. You know, but I think in the wrong hands, yeah, it could be very bad. But at the same time, it's a wonderful thing because what would a podcast be without the comment, without the comments? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, the comments can steer your whole narrative on things. You know what I mean? But I think it does give a person a voice to not let them forget on what you didn't put in this music industry and this thing that we call hip hop. You know what I mean? People are quick to forget about you. People want to forget about you. People can't. I know people that go and pay DJs to not play your shit. You know what I mean? On purpose. It depends on what you use it for, but it's a wonderful mechanism to resurface and come back and bring light to some shit that normally wouldn't be on this brights. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Suckers like 40 Glock or you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas like that 40 Glock. You know what I mean? Busters, these suckers. You know what I mean? Like
what's your beef?
Charleston White,
What's your beef
sucker.
with Glock? What's your beef with 40 Glock, man?
I don't like 40 Glock. I never like 40 Glock, and I don't like Charleston White either. I don't like no niggas like that. I don't like no niggas talking down and acting like they tough, but walking around with the police. You know what I mean? Police ass nigga. So, this is the time I'm about to start speaking and put my shit out because I done seen enough. I done seen too much. Niggas know where I'm from. Niggas know I'm from Inglewood. Niggas know I'm with the whoop shit. They know all that. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I'm colorblind and I don't have crip homies. That's my homeboys. You know what I mean? But it's a lot of shit going on, man, in this industry, and it needs to be exposed. Because the wrong niggas is running around like they telling the truth and they not. You know what I mean? So I'm about to set the record straight and put the truth to the shit that I know about.
No doubt, man. So we're gonna wind down this week with some conversation around the dark side of the hip hop industry. Now we definitely want to convey that this is just some open dialogue and conversation. We ain't taking shots at anybody aforementioned in the broadcast. Definitely shouts out to Keith Murray and the guys.
Big
You
up
know,
to Murray. Big up to Keith Murray.
who but we think it's important. Definitely, as hip hop community, we have these conversations, especially cross the water, cross generational, cross all sorts of borders. We're no squares allowed. We're breaking down boxes of conformity and continuing to build in our own positive direction. So we definitely want to shout out to everybody that support us and stuff like that over at BattleOnline.com and over here at YouTube or wherever you're checking out the podcast at. So we definitely want to say that even ourselves, we're going to be sharing a bit more stories over this upcoming year of different aspects of the industry, from people being scammed out of money from labels and artists and different stuff like that, to just people's experiences. We're gonna try and stay away from people that are just, I guess, trying to just, slander people. But if there's a story in it, there's a story in it, and I do believe people have the right to tell their story. And us as like media, we're in the middle. I did see like with Math Hoffa recently that I think Styles P and a few of those guys are taking exception to an interview with Jay Hood and stuff like that. But I believe they're dead round for stuff like that because people can't have it both ways. Everybody goes on different platforms and stuff, and at the same time, when people are asking the questions, they're not taking any sides. A lot of the times, they're just in the middle, and they're if they ask a question, they're not completely responsible for how the other person answers it. Some may say, as the media, they have the responsibility to sort of chair it or whatever. But you know, if you ask somebody one thing, for instance, and they give you a story for something, you didn't pen that out for them as a script. That's something that they've came up with.
Yeah, don't try to blame Fonz.
Don't
You know
shoot
what
the
I'm saying? On some
don't
shit
shoot
that I
the
didn't say. I said it. I said it minute to hit it represented. You feel what I'm saying? He came with, this is the disclaimer that the views that are not the same
messenger.
views. Me, I don't give a fuck. I mean, excuse me, I don't mean to say it like that, but I'm just saying I don't give a F because of the fact that don't try to come and swear Fonz. You ain't gonna see him no way. He ain't gonna be able to catch you no way. But I'm just saying, don't go say nothing to Fonz. You feel what I'm saying? If Floss Mo said it, Floss Mo said it. That's what it is.
Yeah, but tell them don't shoot the messenger. But we're gonna be out for this one this week, and folks, let us know your thoughts in the comments, and peace to everybody for 2023.
Yeah, West in the building.
Yeah.